escalation, the elevation of one Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA has always thrived on rivalries, but what's happening right now is on another level. Fans are splitting into two camps, and the loudest voices online are the so-called woke supporters of Paige Bueckers, determined to crown her as the true face of the league over Caitlin Clark. They're not just cheering her on, they're going after Clark with a vengeance, turning every game and every headline into a culture battle. But here's the twist: some of the most respected legends in women's basketball are not having it. They've stepped in, calling out the hypocrisy, the favoritism, and the agenda being forced onto the game.
And I'm going to tell you this, if you watch a Paige Bueckers game and you watch a Caitlin Clark game, you want to talk about a difference in two people being guarded. One is not guarded, Paige Bueckers, and Caitlin Clark is guarded. They pick her up from 94 feet away.
And their words have left Paige's defenders scrambling. This isn't just about stats anymore. It's about how the league is marketed, who gets protected, and what it means for the future of women's basketball. And the fallout has only just begun.
Let me tell you, it exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on the court.
When Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points in a single game, the sports media machine went into overdrive. Headlines praised her as the new face of the WNBA, and hashtags began trending that placed her above Caitlin Clark. Overnight, Paige went from being a promising talent to being framed as the league's savior. On the surface, that sounds like a story of hard work and breakthrough performance. But fans quickly noticed how quickly the narrative shifted. Instead of celebrating both players, the conversation turned into a forced comparison with Paige, being elevated as better while Clark's accomplishments were brushed aside. The truth is, Paige has always had strong backing from the media. She's marketable, she checks certain cultural boxes, and her fan base has been waiting for years to push her into the spotlight.
How about some statistics of rookie seasons? Oh my God, Paige Bueckers got her by 0.5 points right there. 0.5. But just about everything else checks that box. On the Caitlin Clark side of the fence, including a record-breaking assist season.
But when you look closer, the numbers don't quite match the hype. Her Dallas Wings are buried at the bottom of the standings, far from playoff contention. While Clark's Indiana Fever fought their way to a balanced record and a postseason berth, one is playing meaningful games under pressure, the other is racking up stats and losses.
But let's take a look at something before we jump into this. This is the 2024 WNBA season. The Indiana Fever had a 20-20 record that was good enough to make the WNBA playoffs. Paige Bueckers, her Dallas Wings team is 9-27.
Yet somehow, the spotlight shines brighter on Paige. This hasn't gone unnoticed. Many fans have pointed out the difference in how games are officiated. Paige benefits from what some call a special whistle, where even the slightest contact results in a foul in her favor. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is battling through double teams, hard fouls, and physical play every night with very little protection. Clips circulating online show Clark getting knocked to the floor repeatedly without calls, while Paige often strolls to the free throw line after minimal contact. To longtime followers of the league, this looks less like natural stardom and more like manufactured momentum. Legends of the game. Players who laid the foundation for women's basketball have started speaking out. They know talent when they see it, and while Paige is gifted, they've made it clear that the hype doesn't erase Clark's generational impact. Clark has already broken rookie assist records, outperformed Paige statistically in nearly every category, and done it under relentless pressure. The Legends are warning fans not to fall for surface-level narratives, reminding everyone that true greatness is measured in resilience, leadership, and consistency. Not just highlight reels or media campaigns, this clash between reality and perception has fueled a firestorm online. Supporters of Paige defend her fiercely, often framing criticism as bias or disrespect, while Clark's fans flood social media with receipts, stats, and footage proving the imbalance. What started as a debate about two players has morphed into something much bigger, a cultural battle over how the WNBA is presented and who gets chosen as the face of its future. And this is only the beginning, because as the season unfolds, the spotlight on Paige grows brighter, but so does the backlash. The question now is whether this manufactured push will hold up once the numbers and reality continue to expose the cracks. As the debate over Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark raged online, the noise grew so loud that it caught the attention of former WNBA legends. These weren't casual observers or biased fans, they were players who had built the foundation of the league and knew what it took to survive at the highest level. And when they weighed in, their words carried a sting that Paige's defenders didn't see coming. Several veterans openly criticized the way the media was manufacturing hype around Paige while ignoring the grind that Clark was enduring night after night. They pointed out that Clark wasn't just adjusting to the league, she was breaking records.
And, well, you're going to get a foul called, a whistle. I mean, in this case, this was the video. They were playing the aces. I imagine Asia Wilson was like, what the hell's going on? Where'd my whistle go?
UConn special treatment. Look at this. Nobody touched her. What the bull dookie? Look at this. Nobody touched Paige. Becky Hammond can't believe it. What is this? It was the referee from half court calling this. Look at this one. It gets worse. Stay with me. This game is the worst officiated game I've ever seen. Look at that travel right in front of the ref. No call.
While taking more punishment than almost any rookie in recent history. For these legends, the problem wasn't Paige's talent, it was the unfair pedestal she had been placed on. They warned fans and media outlets alike that the league risks losing credibility if it continues to elevate one player through favoritism rather than merit. Clips began circulating of these legends discussing officiating bias. They highlighted moments where Paige drew fouls on minimal contact, then contrasted them with sequences where Clark absorbed elbows, shoves, and body checks with no whistle in sight. Fans who once dismissed Clark supporters as overreacting suddenly had validation from the very voices that had earned respect through years of sweat and sacrifice. The conversation shifted. It was no longer just fans. Arguing it was the old guard, calling out a system that seemed rigged in favor of certain players. This struck a nerve with WNBA fans. Paige's supporters were quick to accuse the legends of jealousy or being stuck in the past, but that only added fuel to the fire. The reality was simple. These legends weren't tearing down Paige, they were demanding fairness. They saw Clark being treated as an outsider despite carrying the league's growth on her back. They saw her being punished for her popularity, while Paige was rewarded with protection and praise despite less impact on the court. The backlash was immediate. Social media lit up with clips of legends like Candace Wiggins being cited as proof of systemic bias, and fans dug up receipts of Clark's record-setting performances compared directly to Paige's struggles in games that didn't matter in the standings. The comparison was brutal. Clark was dragging her team into relevance, while Paige was padding her stats and losses. What hurt Paige's defenders the most wasn't just the criticism, it was who it came from. These weren't trolls or rival fan bases. They were the very players Paige's camp had once idolized. Their credibility cut through the noise, and suddenly the Paige is better narrative looked shaky. This moment marked a turning point in the debate. Legends had entered the arena, and their voices couldn't be ignored. For Caitlin Clark's supporters, it was vindication. For Paige's defenders, it was humiliation. And for the WNBA, it was a warning shot. Fans and players alike were paying attention, and the double standard wouldn't stay hidden forever. When emotions run high in debates like this, it's easy for fans to get lost in hype, favoritism, or personal bias. But the one thing that never lies is the stat sheet. And when you place Paige Bueckers' numbers side by side with Caitlin Clark's, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Clark isn't just holding her own as a rookie, she's already outpacing Paige in nearly every meaningful category, and doing so under far harsher conditions. Start with assists. Clark has already broken the rookie record, orchestrating her team's offense with precision despite constant double. Her court vision has turned the Indiana Fever into a competitive playoff squad. Meanwhile, Paige, despite her scoring bursts, hasn't shown the same ability to elevate her teammates. her numbers in assists and rebounds lag behind, exposing a gap in all-around impact. The box score doesn't just measure points, it measures how a player shapes the game, and Clark is shaping every possession. Then there's efficiency. Critics of Clark love to cherry-pick shooting percentages or turnovers, but those numbers tell a deeper story when put in context. Clark is facing elite defenders picking her up full court every single game, with schemes designed solely to slow her down. Paige, on the other hand, is often given open lanes, friendly whistles, and the benefit of officiating that smooths out her mistakes. When stripped of that context, it's easy to claim Paige is the more polished scorer. But when you consider what Clark endures just to get her shots off, her production looks all the more historic. Even more telling are the team results. Clark's Indiana Fever finished the season at 20 wins, a remarkable turnaround that landed them in the playoffs. She didn't just rack up numbers, she won games that mattered. Paige's Dallas Wings, however, stumbled through a disastrous 9-win season, eliminated long before playoff time. Fans are left asking the obvious question: how can someone framed as the league's future face not even lift her team out of the basement? Advanced stats only deepen the divide. Clark's player efficiency rating, true shooting percentage when adjusted for defensive pressure, and her usage rate compared to her productivity all dwarf Paige's. Analysts have pointed out that if Clark received the same calls Paige gets, her scoring average could easily jump by 7 points a game. That would put her in historic territory. Even among the WNBA's greatest scorers, this statistical reality has become ammunition for legends and fans alike. Numbers circulate on social media like receipts, countering every attempt to prop up Paige through headlines or narratives. Clips of Clark's record-breaking assists trend alongside graphics of Paige's mediocre team record, creating a contrast too glaring to ignore. And here lies the heart of the problem. The WNBA can push whatever narrative it wants, but fans today are smarter, armed with data and highlights at their fingertips. The numbers aren't just exposing the myth of Paige's superiority, they're rewriting the conversation in real time. And as those numbers pile up, the pressure on the league to stop ignoring reality only grows. As the Paige Bueckers versus Caitlin Clark debate escalated, it stopped being just about basketball. What began as a conversation over stats and performances morphed into a cultural battleground, with fans and even players whispering about something much deeper, an agenda driving the way the league markets and protects certain stars. At the center of this storm is Paige herself, a talented player who also happens to check cultural boxes that many believe shield her from criticism. Her identity and image make her an easy figure for media outlets to rally behind, painting her as the kind of star who aligns perfectly with progressive narratives. For many woke fans, Paige isn't just a player, they see her as a symbol. That symbolism, however, has become a flashpoint, because when the league bends over backwards to protect one star while allowing another to be targeted, it doesn't just feel unfair, it feels orchestrated. Legends of the game have fueled this conversation by referencing past players who were treated differently based on who they were rather than how they performed. Candace Wiggins' story, for example, resurfaced, where she revealed being ostracized and bullied out of the league because she didn't fit the dominant culture. Fans immediately drew parallels to Clark, who seems to be punished nightly for simply being herself, while Paige enjoys leniency and promotion. The implication is chilling: if you don't fit the narrative, the league won't protect you. The agenda allegations gain traction because of what fans see with their own eyes. When Clark gets clotheslined on a drive to the basket and referees swallow their whistles, while Paige gets free throws for barely being touched, the double standard is impossible to ignore. Clips flood social media of Clark enduring hard fouls without calls, contrasted with Paige being rewarded for flailing her arms or drawing minimal contact. This isn't just a matter of perception, it's a pattern. And patterns, especially in sports, always tell a bigger story. The culture war around this debate has only intensified online. Paige's defenders insist that criticism of her is rooted in bias, while Clark's supporters accuse the league of pushing identity politics over merit. Heated exchanges erupt across platforms, with one side demanding respect for Paige's achievements and the other side, posting receipts that highlight how Clark's numbers and impact are far greater. What should be a celebration of two great players has turned into a war zone fueled by cultural and political undertones. The WNBA finds itself caught in the middle. By elevating Paige at the expense of Clark, the league risks alienating its fastest-growing fanbase. Clark's arrival has boosted ratings, ticket sales, and merchandise revenue, making her the undeniable engine of the league's growth. Yet, the league's silence on her treatment and its amplification of Paige only deepen suspicions that the game is being used to serve narratives. Outside of basketball, this isn't just about favoritism anymore. For many fans, it feels like a choice between authenticity and agenda. And the more the WNBA leans into the latter, the louder the backlash becomes. The biggest frustration for fans and former players alike is the massive gap between what actually happens on the court and the story the media continues to sell. If you simply read headlines or scroll through trending hashtags, you'd think Paige Bueckers was dominating the WNBA on every level. But when you sit down and watch the games, the truth tells a very different story. The highlight reels conveniently leave out the moments where referees hand Paige free throws for phantom fouls or overlook blatant violations like travels and double dribbles. They don't show the soft defense opponents often play against her, allowing her to slip into the lane untouched. For anyone who's followed the WNBA closely, it's not hard to see the gap between her portrayal and her actual impact. Contrast that with Caitlin Clark's nightly reality. Every game she's being hounded full court from the opening tip, with defenders bumping, shoving, and making her fight for every single possession. She doesn't get open lanes or red carpet treatment. She doesn't get phantom whistles to bail her out when shots don't fall. Instead, she's forced to grind through aggressive double teams while absorbing hits that often go uncalled. The referee's reluctance to protect her has turned into a talking point among fans, who can't believe the difference in how Clark is treated compared to her so-called rival, the Angel. Reese incident when Clark took a brutal clothesline to the head with only a minimal review and call remains a glaring example. It highlighted what many fans have been saying for months. Clark is not just another rookie, she's the target. And while she takes that punishment and keeps producing, Paige is celebrated for scoring in games that don't even affect playoff contention. For fans watching both players closely, the double standard feels insulting. What makes this worse is how the narrative flips the reality. Instead of praising Clark for her resilience and ability to carry a team under extreme pressure, many media voices downplay her struggles while amplifying Paige's flashes of brilliance. The imbalance is so extreme that it doesn't just look like bias, it looks intentional. Every time Clark breaks a record, the story becomes about Paige's potential. Every time Clark survives a rough game against elite competition, the headlines pivot to Paige's highlight reel against soft coverage. Legends of the game have called this out, because they know how damaging it can be to let narratives replace reality. For a league still fighting for mainstream attention, credibility is everything. If fans begin to believe that the WNBA is more interested in pushing certain faces than celebrating actual merit, the entire sport risks being seen as manufactured drama instead of authentic competition. And that's the core issue here. On one side, you have Caitlin Clark proving her greatness through blood, sweat, and numbers. On the other, you have Paige Bueckers being lifted by media and officiating into a spotlight she hasn't yet earned. It's a clash of perception versus truth, and fans are beginning to pick sides. If there's one thing the Paige Bueckers versus Caitlin Clark saga has proven, it's that the WNBA fanbase is more divided than ever. What might have started as a friendly debate between supporters of two great players has transformed into an all-out culture war. Social media has become the battlefield, and every statistic, highlight, and whistle has turned into ammunition. On one side are Paige's defenders, many of whom align with the woke online culture that celebrates her identity as much as her game. They flood platforms like X and Instagram with graphics, clips, and trending hashtags, claiming Paige is already superior to Caitlin Clark. To them, Paige represents the future, a face of the league who fits neatly into the narratives they want promoted. Any criticism of her play is dismissed as bias or worse, and her fans quickly go on the offensive against anyone daring to point out flaws. On the other side are Clark's supporters, a group that has only grown louder as her treatment becomes harder to ignore. They bring receipts, hard numbers, video compilations, and historical comparisons to dismantle the narrative that Paige is ahead of Clark. For every clip of Paige being celebrated for an uncontested layup, there are 2 clips of Clark being hammered on drives with no whistle. For every headline hyping Paige's potential, there's a chart showing Clark breaking yet another rookie record. This side isn't just cheering Clark, they're fighting against what they see as a blatant media machine designed to undermine her. The result has been chaos online. Fan arguments regularly trend on X, often spilling into toxic territory. Accusations fly about favoritism, agenda-driven promotion, and even systemic bias. What should be simple basketball discussions are loaded with political and cultural undertones. Paige's fans accuse Clark's base of being resistant to change or blind to Paige's skill set. Clark's base accuses Paige's defenders of being so invested in symbolism that they've lost sight of actual performance. Neither side is backing down, and the clash grows louder with every game. Even WNBA Legends weighing in hasn't settled. The Madrits only deepened the divide. When veterans call out the double standard, Paige's supporters accuse them of disrespect. While Clark's fans use their words as validation, the back and forth has created an environment where every foul call, every headline, and every stat update is scrutinized for signs of bias. In many ways, this feud has become bigger than the players themselves. It's a reflection of how polarized the fan base has become. The league, meanwhile, remains silent, a silence that only adds fuel to the fire. By refusing to address the clear differences in treatment and coverage, the WNBA is letting fans battle it out in a digital arena that grows uglier by the day. And while the noise keeps Paige trending, it's also pushing Clark's supporters to rally around her even more fiercely. The question now isn't just who the better player is, it's whether this divide is sustainable, because the longer the league allows narratives to replace fairness, the deeper this rift will grow. And once fans split this sharply, stitching the community back together might be impossible. Amid the chaos of debates, media spin, and online culture wars, one thing has remained constant: Caitlin Clark's ability to show up night after night and deliver. While others argue over who deserves the crown, Clark has let her play do the talking. And the reality is, she's doing things no rookie has any business doing under the conditions she faces. Her first season in the WNBA has already written the record books. Clark shattered the rookie assist record, climbed near the top of scoring charts, and became a nightly headline, not because of hype, but because of undeniable production. What makes her impact even more impressive is the environment she's doing it in. Every game, she faces defensive schemes specifically designed to stop her. Teams press her full court, throw double teams at her, and physically test her durability. Instead of folding under that pressure, she's continued to carry the Indiana fever and drag them back into playoff relevance. This is the reality check for those who claim Paige Bueckers is the league's next face. Hype can win headlines, but only production wins games. Clark isn't padding stats in meaningless matchups. She's leading her team to victories that matter. Every assist sparks ball movement, every three-pointer shifts momentum, and every gritty possession energizes a franchise desperate for success. Without Clark, the Fever are an afterthought. With her, they're a story of resilience and growth. That's the kind of influence that transcends box scores. The toll this has taken on her physically has not gone unnoticed. Fans have watched her absorb hard fouls, brutal screens, and even dangerous plays with very little officiating protection. Yet she gets back up, resets, and keeps playing with the same fire. That resilience has turned her into more than just a playette, made her a symbol of toughness. For a league trying to grow its audience, Clark embodies the grit and determination that fans respect. She's not being handed anything, and that authenticity resonates in ways marketing campaigns never could. Clark's impact off the court is just as undeniable. Ticket sales skyrocket wherever she plays. Television ratings hit record highs when she's on the floor. Merchandise featuring her name sells out faster than any other players. The WNBA may try to prop up other stars, but the numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark is the economic engine driving the league forward. Ignoring that reality isn't just short-sighted, it's dangerous for the league's growth. For Paige's supporters, this is a difficult truth to confront. While they push narratives online, Clark is building a resume that no amount of cultural spin can erase. The contrast between perception and reality becomes more glaring with every game. Legends recognize it, fans see it, and opponents are forced to game plan around it. The true question moving forward isn't whether Clark can handle the pressure she's already proven she can. The real question is how long she can keep carrying this burden before the league itself decides whether to support her or continue allowing the double standard to thrive. The Paige Bueckers versus Caitlin Clark battle has grown into something much larger than two players competing for attention. It's become a mirror reflecting the WNBA's deepest challenges: credibility, fairness, and the ability to balance cultural narratives with on-court performance. How the league handles this moment will determine whether it strengthens its foundation or risks alienating the very audience that could propel it forward. The WNBA's growth in 2024 has been undeniable, and much of that surge is tied directly to Caitlin Clark. Ticket sales, viewership, and national conversations all spike when she's on the court. Fans buy into her story not because she's handed spotlight treatment, but because she's earning it the hard way. She represents authenticity, resilience, and raw competitiveness, the qualities that make sports compelling in the first place. Yet instead of embracing that, the league seems intent on manufacturing an alternative star, hoping Paige Bueckers can carry the same cultural weight. The danger in this strategy is clear. When fans see favoritism or a gender-driven promotion, they feel manipulated. Sports are supposed to be the one arena where results speak louder than narratives. If the league continues to push Paige, while Clark shoulders the punishment and still delivers, it undermines the idea that the WNBA is about merit. And when merit loses, credibility is the first casualty. That credibility is exactly what the league has spent decades trying to build. The legends who have spoken out understand this better than anyone. They fought for respect in eras when women's basketball was barely acknowledged. For them, seeing the game reduced to culture battles and media favoritism is not just frustrating, it's insulting. They know that protecting Paige with special treatment while ignoring Clark's struggle risks undoing years of hard work that went into legitimizing the sport. Their criticism isn't about jealousy, it's about preserving fairness and integrity. For fans, the divide has already been drawn. Paige's defenders see her as the symbolic face of a new era, while Clark supporters cling to the tangible proof of her greatness on the court. This divide is dangerous because it fractures the fan base at a time when unity is essential. Instead of building excitement around a rivalry, it's breeding resentment and mistrust. The Paige versus Clark debate should be about elevating the game, not exposing its flaws. The WNBA is now at a crossroads. If it leans too heavily into the manufactured push for Paige, it risks alienating the fans who have rallied around Clark. If it ignores Clark's treatment on the court, it sends a message that popularity comes second to narratives. But if the league embraces authenticity, celebrates both players fairly, and restores balance in officiating, it could turn this controversy into the rivalry that defines a generation. Ultimately, this isn't just about Paige or Clark, it's about the soul of the WNBA. Will the league let agendas dictate its future? Or will it finally embrace the raw, unfiltered competition that fans crave? The answer will shape not only the careers of its brightest stars, but also the destiny of women's basketball itself. The clash between Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark has exposed far more than a simple debate about talent. It has pulled back the curtain on the WNBA's struggle between authenticity and agenda. Between what happens on the court and what gets spun in the headlines, Paige may be a gifted scorer, but the reality is that Caitlin Clark is carrying the league's momentum with unmatched resilience, record-breaking numbers, and undeniable impact. The legends of the game see it, the fans see it, and the numbers prove it. What remains uncertain is whether the league itself will acknowledge it or continue pushing a narrative that risks dividing its audience. Rivalries should elevate women's basketball, not fracture it. The question now isn't who's better, whether the WNBA will honor merit and fairness or let cultural battles overshadow the very game it's trying to grow.